Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from a Frontier, first podcast of the new year. I wish you a fabulous, exponential, cosmic 2017, and all the best wishes and deep appreciation for the fact that you do turn up and take a look at this. Macro thoughts. My piece over the first weekend was investors need to have their wits about them. 2016 was surely an extraordinary, once-in-a-lifetime type of year. Big headline events like Brexit and the election of Donald Trump spoke to a new normal. It certainly felt like the disruption of an old normal. The intersection and correlation between politics and economics was plain for all to see. The pound moved close to 20 big figures in a window of 24 hours around the Brexit vote. Later in October, the pound flash crashed close to 10%. These kinds of price moves are normally associated with frontier market currencies. The FX markets are now driven by lightning-quick, complex, computerized trading programs. And these algorithmic models pick up the same buy and sell signals, magnifying price swings. Virilio said wealth is the hidden side of speed, and speed the hidden side of wealth. And when you look at the frequency of these sterling-like moves that we have witnessed in 2016 across the FX markets and other asset classes, you cannot but agree. Other interesting points to note are the geopolitical and/or market return correlations. Russian President Putin's parabolic geopolitical rebound was matched by the Russian ruble, the second best performing currency worldwide, which clocked a 21% appreciation versus the dollar. Bear in mind the dollar surged to 13-year highs on a Donald Trump MAGA pop. Russia's RTS index rallied 50% in 2016. The best performing currency worldwide was a cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, which rallied a mighty 120% through 2016. Bitcoin appears to have become a proxy for Chinese capital flight. I brought this tweet from Christine Liu from December 30th to your attention. If you're raising money from Chinese investors in 2017 and that money isn't already outside of China, then have fun signing MOUs. Talked about the Bovespa stock index, which is the best performing index in the world, posting a 63% gain in 2016. The real on top of that rallied 20%, and investors into Brazil bagged an 83% return. The commodity complex snapped a 5-year losing streak to close about plus 11.5% in 2016. The energy component of that commodity index rallied 48.2%, with Brent crude registering a 50.9% gain. The Brent crude price trajectory needs to be closely watched in 2017. If it can build on 2016 gains, then the Saudi king and his Dauphin, the deputy crown prince in Riyadh, President Buhari in Abuja, and Angolan President Dos Santos and others will breathe a sigh of relief. It's a Hail Mary pass for oil producers, and I am of the view that the pass is going to be fumbled in 2017. Buffers are a busted flush in many countries, not just in Caracas. Caracas might well prove to be the canary in the oil producer's oil mine. Let's now turn our gaze to Africa, which is growing at around 20-year lows. President Sisi bit the bullet, devalued the Egyptian pound. The pound was minus 56% in 2016 and probably a bit of a buy now. Nigeria, which overtook South Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa's biggest economy a while back, only to fall back again and cede top dog position to South Africa, saw its Naira slump 36.68%. The Naira remains the central paradox for the Buhari regime. It has a lot further to fall in 2017. The Metical closed down 33.27%, Angolan's kwanza was down nearly 19%. Investors need to avoid these kinds of situations at all costs. Interestingly, the South African rand posted an 11% return, just behind the kwacha, which was up 11.96%. The shilling finished out the year trading at 102.50 and has held steady, and I'll get to that in a minute. Currencies like the South Sudanese pound and the Burundi franc cratered. From a currency perspective, Africa is a landscape littered with unexploded FX ordnance. Zimbabwe, of course, experimenting with its bond notes. It is predicted and predictable that the bond note jigs up sometime in 2017. Equity markets in Africa were led by Namibia, which returned 34.13% in 2016. South Africa was lifted by the currency gain to register an 11% return. In Nigeria, minus 41.4%, Lusaka minus 16.53%. I concluded by saying investors need to have their wits around them. Have a look at this African markets equity performance. This is by J.K. Ilunga. Prior to that piece I've just read, I wrote a piece on the 30th of December, what to expect in 2017 and 2016. And I said it's been a dramatic year, the markets with big headline political events, wrong footing markets, the chances of Brexit and the election of President Trump were considered the equivalent of three-legged ponies at the Epsom Derby by the bookmakers. As we can see, the new zeitgeist spread like wildfire, and the world at the end of 2016 looks nothing like it did at the beginning of the year. Putin looks the biggest geopolitical winner in 2016, and this has been reflected in the markets. And I was talking about the ruble and the real. The book I read over the long weekend was Conversation in the Cathedral, a novel by Vargas Llosa. Really very good. Manuel Odria ruled Peru from 1948 until 1956. His dictatorship was deeply corrupt. His Minister of Internal Affairs, for instance, ran a brothel, and then talking about running a prostitution ring, a death row guard named Maud, almost unbearably ironic. This is a super book about that period, fabulously well written. A little bit Joycean, but at the same time wonderful to read. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I like this photograph from Kenya Pics. Steve Kariuki still at the Amboseli National Park watching the incredible sunset. This photograph as well, a man is ice fishing at midday on the frozen Bothnia Sea. And finally, the new year arrived for the Roman Colosseum. This was a photograph I found from Aurelio Soto Roma. Going back to Virilio, three quotations I picked up over the weekend. The message is not exactly the medium, but above all, the ultimate speed of its propagation. Coeval emergence of mass media, an industrial army, where the capability to war without war manifests a parallel information market of propaganda, illusion, dissimulation. For Virilio, its speed effects are not at all ambiguous, nor are they merely paradoxical. Contemporary real-time interterritorial communication constructs a media ecology of social cyberkinetic control and a post-national state of emergency. Get your head around that. Remember these words from Tsar Nicholas. This is diary. The year 1916 was cursed. 1917 will surely be better. Happy New Year. Turkey sees an Islamic State link to the Istanbul attack. The Islamic State have now taken responsibility for that attack. The massacre killed 39 people. The attacker remains on the run. They are being sucked into a battle which they cannot hope to win decisively. For all Erdogan's tough talk, it is not at all clear what the Turkish army and its local allies hope to achieve in northern Syria, where they have few real friends and many dangerous enemies. They are being sucked into a battle which they cannot hope to win decisively. Today we say thank you and farewell to Secretary General Ban Ki-moon. After 10 world-changing years of leadership in the UN, he's headed to be president of South Korea. France 24 says Kim says North Korea in final stages of test launching ICBM intercontinental ballistic missile. Trump tweeted North Korea just stated that it is in the final stages of developing a nuclear weapon capable of reaching parts of the US. It won't happen, he says. A real photo, a Trump billboard in front of homeless. I fear this might sum up 2017. Very interesting piece by Anna Neptsova in the Daily Beast. Wilderness of mirrors, Putin outfoxes Obama, lies in wait for Trump. In the closing days of the old year, the US and Russia are slapping each other in the face in the second big spy crisis of the fast-ending era of Obama. But it's a confrontation full of feints and surprises. Back in 2010, the FBI arrested a ring of alleged Russian sleepers, including red-haired Russian Bond girl Anna Chapman, who quickly became a celebrity ex-spy. In the end, not much harm was done. But on Thursday, Obama ordered a much more significant action against what was portrayed as a much more sinister plot. In retaliation for the alleged hacking of the Democratic Party in an effort to tilt the US president elections to Donald Trump, 35 Russians were declared persona non grata. 2 Russian intelligence agencies were sanctioned, and a list of hackers were published. Residences in the US where Russian officials and their children spent time relaxing, among other things, found themselves shut down. The news arrived late in the evening on Thursday in Moscow, where it was not entirely unexpected, and the Kremlin immediately promised a mirror response. But then came the surprises. Judo black belt Putin pulled off one of the most spectacular jiu-jitsu moves of his political career, announcing that Russia would not be punishing any American children or closing any American dachas. In a move that echoed Michelle Obama's incantatory "they go low, we go high," Putin announced, "We will not create problems for US diplomats. We will not expel anyone. We will not prohibit their families and children to use their usual vacation spots in the New Year's holidays. Moreover, I am inviting all the children of the US diplomats accredited to Russia to the New Year's, the Christmas celebration in the Kremlin." Fantastic geopolitical sidestep, you'll have to agree. While we reserve the right to respond, we will not drop to this level of irresponsible diplomacy, and we will make further steps to help to resurrect Russian-American relations based on the policies that the administration of Donald Trump will pursue. So, the joint DHS-FBI statement issued Thursday describes some techniques and details, but gets no closer to the proverbial smoking keyboard. And this is the point I was making, saying that it's all about plausible deniability and non-linear navigation. That's why you won't find the proverbial smoking keyboard. Obama appears to have been outmaneuvered by Putin. This only increases the fear that Trump will be completely outclassed, says the New Yorker. One of the negative trends in 2016, huge increase, 650% in terror deaths in the developed world. That's an interesting thing, and I think it tells you why there was such a strong feeling, anti-immigration feeling. That's a big jump. Behind the lens, this is remarkable. Pete Souza, who was the White House photographer, has posted a bunch of photographs. I picked out a few which I liked. The very powerful Angela Merkel, who's currently surrounded, you'd have to admit, by Putin. I like the photograph of Obama with his VR mask. Another one of him being very cerebral and thinking about what's going to happen next. One with Donald Trump, look at the body language and the facial expressions. And then one as he's coming off his helicopter. Very interesting, attractive photographs from Pete, and I think very highly of those. This overnight flight from Hawaii to Washington is one of the final times Obama will fly on Air Force One as president. That's Josh Lederman. And then I like this cartoon from this week's New Yorker. Do take a look. Let's move on to the currency markets. Euro 104.81, dollar index 102.36, Japanese yen 117.34, Swissy 102.16, the pound 122.95, the Aussie 0.7229, Indian rupee 68.095, South Korean won 12.0440, the Real 328.59, Egyptian pound 18.1280, and the Rand at 13.725. Dollar index, I'll put up a one-year chart. I think it'll continue to make progress to the upside. China gets strict on Forex transactions to stop money exiting abroad. And this goes back to a tweet I picked up of Christine Liu's. If you're raising money from Chinese investors in 2017 and that money isn't already sitting outside of China, then have fun signing MOUs. And I think she's right. Sterling, I'll put up a one-year chart. I think it's found a base. We might go and revisit lows again, but ultimately I expect it to be a lot higher than here at the year end. Gold, let's take a look at that, 1157.82. I don't see it going to the upside. In fact, in my optimal portfolio, one of the trades I've got is long Bitcoin, short gold on a spread. US WTI crude oil tops $54. It's at $54.50. This is a strong rebound. My cap for the whole year was 60. Don't want to see it going up much higher than this. The Venezuelan government said to sell $5 billion of new dollar bonds. But bear in mind that their benchmark dollar bond, which matures in 2027, is currently trading on a yield to maturity of 20.7%. World's best stock rally this year was really just an illusion. That was Caracas. And we'll have a look at the comparison with the currency. Brazil real versus agricultural prices. You can see that the real turned higher with a rebound in agricultural prices. Investors who got into Brazil last year are up 80%, which is phenomenal, as long as they were into the stock market. Let's move on to Africa. An African migrant stands on top of a border fence as Spanish police stand guard below during a failed attempt to cross into Spanish territories. That story is surely going to continue. The story of migrants prepared to do anything to get into Fortress Europe. 6 stories that will shape sub-Saharan Africa in 2017, says Newsweek. The risk of genocide in South Sudan. The ANC reinventing itself, not going to happen. Leaving a dictator behind in the Gambia. Ethiopia's state of emergency gets worse before it gets better. Burundi's increasing isolation and holding things together in Nigeria. The unusual political clout of the DRC's Catholic Church is something that Deutsche Welle is writing about. They have seemed to have banged enough heads together and achieve some kind of breakthrough agreement, which has not been signed by President Kabila yet, but expectations are that it will be. Its economy in crisis, Angola readies for a new leader. Interesting article in the Wall Street Journal. Now, in its worst economic crisis since emerging from civil war in 2002, Angola is gearing up for its first leadership change in 37 years, following the announcement earlier this month that Jose Eduardo dos Santos won't seek another term as president in elections scheduled for August. There is a lot of discontent with dos Santos and above all his family, said Filomeno Vieira Lopez, an economist and senior member of the Democratic Bloc. IMF expects that Nigeria's economy will have zero growth in 2016, marking its worst peacetime performance on record. Meanwhile, government debt has jumped to 78% of GDP, according to the IMF. If spending continues at this pace in about a year's time, you'd probably run out of reserves, Stuart Culverhurst. That seems to me a likely scenario. Joburg is one big jungle gym for parkour fanatics. Dollar versus Rand trading around the 13.725 level. Let's keep an eye on that. Egyptian pound bounced off 2016 lows. It's now at 18.128. Looks cheap above 19. People never really change, says Ase Mota, taking a photograph of Buhari from his younger days. My piece over the weekend, or a little bit earlier, was that President Buhari has to capitulate, and therefore I expect another fall in the naira. Teodorin Obiang, the 47-year-old vice president of oil-rich Equatorial Guinea, has gone on trial in France. What an extraordinary character. Make next year's New Year's Eve to remember. Watch the sun rise in 2018 from the top of Mount Kilimanjaro. That is Action Aid. The IFC is set to invest 3.5 billion shillings in acquiring a 10.37% stake in the Kenyan insurance company BRITAM. Proposed transaction will see the allocation of 224.1 million new ordinary shares to IFC. Entry of IFC's offer price of 15.85 represents a 58.5% premium to the insurance closing price of 10 on Friday, will dilute existing shareholders by 10.3%. I'll put up a link for BRITAM's share price. Closed at the end of last year at 10, so a significant premium. Cabinet Secretary Joe Mucheru tweeted, "While it is true the bulb is an invention, we still have candles in case the bulb fails. I asked for a candle backup, not a replacement." That created enormous furore on social media. Deacons, Kenya issued a profits warning, blaming a delayed launch of Two Rivers. The drop in profits was primarily occasioned by the delayed openings of Adidas, Bossini and F&F stores at the hub, Karen, and the postponement of the launch of Two Rivers Mall to February, where the company was fully invested and ready to trade in 4 flagship stores by September 2016. I went to visit the Two Rivers Mall. Do take a drive around the surrounding area. I think that's going to be its biggest challenge. Kenya shilling 102.60. Shilling outshines currencies, but exports costlier. Shilling remained resilient, depreciating by 0.1% for the year 2016 against the dollar. That's without factoring in the positive carry. And I think it's going to continue to hold its own, especially when you compare it with what has happened amongst other African currencies. I think the shilling is a safe haven. And I shall leave you with this photograph, early morning in the embassy, photographed by Daniel Schumacher. Marvellous it is. I haven't been down there for a while, but I promised my niece Alia that I would take her and Hannah as soon as we can. Once again, wishing you a super new year, wishing you a fabulous 2017, and thank you for the support.